there are second chances, that even when life gives you tragedy, you can recover from it, with God's help, of course, and because this is an inspirational romance. Sometimes it's not clear to us immediately what our purpose in life is, but we all have a purpose, and if we keep searching for it, we will find it. And that's what both Anna and Jim do.
We'll talk about this and much more today. Welcome to a Writer's Day podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to Writer's Day podcast. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. My name is Ruth Douthit, and I'm an award-winning, best-selling author of books in various genres. And right now, I am in writing suspense, and I love the suspense genre. It's so fascinating. And book 3 in my Desert Shadow suspense series releases July 28th on ebook, but the paperback is available right now. That's right. Head over to Amazon and get the paperback and leave me a review. I'd love to know what you think of Fatal Truth, book 3 in the Desert Shadow suspense series. I really enjoyed writing about Emma and Liam on their next investigation in a small desert town called Butte, Arizona. And if you like today's episode, please head over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel over there. Head over to Spotify and follow me wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out A Writer's Day and follow me. Let me know what you think of today's episode too. I'd love to know what you think. And as usual, head over to artbyruth.com and sign up for my newsletter, because I give away a book every month and you might get a copy of today's guest's. Her book is going to be out there too, so you might win a copy. And also that's where you can find out more about me. You can see my art. You can learn more about my books, like my upcoming nonfiction book, Ask Why: Discovering Purpose and Perseverance Through the Questions That Shape Us. It's a book that I wrote that uses stories from my life to inspire and encourage you, and how asking one question could change the direction of your life forever. Ask Why is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. And you'll learn more about my upcoming projects as well at artbyruth.com, so check it out. Okay, let's get started. Amanda Cabot is with me again today to talk about her newest book. She is the best-selling author of more than 40 novels. That's right, 8 novellas too. And she has always been on the ECPA bestseller list. And she even has starred reviews from Publishers Weekly. And she's here today to talk about her newest book, Beyond the Melody, a Sweetwater Crossing novel. So you know the drill. Grab your favorite beverage, a comfortable chair, kick back and relax as we listen to Amanda Cabot talk about her new book. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited to have my friend Amanda Cabot back with me today. Welcome, Amanda.
Oh, Ruth, thanks so much for inviting me. You know, I always look forward to these because it's so much fun talking with you. I mean, we talk about everything. I mean, yes, books, of course, but lots of other things too.
That's true.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Yeah, you're one of my favorite guests. I'm always intrigued by your stories and your skill at storytelling. So, but what have you been up to so far this summer? Are you enjoying it?
Well, other than the fact that we are still in a drought here in Cheyenne, that's and you know, it's so strange because parts of the country are having terrible, terrible flooding, but it's quite dry here, so that's not good. On the other hand, we have beautiful blue skies, so I'm thinking about that. But yeah, it's been a good summer so far, and of course, the exciting thing for me this summer is the release of Beyond the Melody.
Yes. Oh my goodness. In the aftermath of World War II, that is such an interesting time period in American history. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about this book. But quickly though, over the years, have you found that you've had to change your writing style, or is your process still the same?
Well, my process is the same, but my voice changes. And depending on whether I'm writing a historical or a contemporary, or in this case, a book that was set right after World War II has a slightly different voice than my 19th century books because there's different vocabulary and customs were different. So
Mm-hmm.
I find that I do that almost without thinking. But when I finished Beyond the Melody and then I went back to write the third of the Sisters of the Heart um, trilogy, which is 19th century, it took me a couple days to get back to what it felt like in the 19th century. And I hadn't expected that. That was
Mm.
kind of strange.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I have never done that, written in the past, historical books. So I guess I wouldn't have thought about that either. But yeah, you had to make some changes, and your approach probably was different too. Well, I like to ask writers about that because through the years, we change, and so sometimes our process has to change as well. So. Well, great. Let's talk about Beyond the Melody. Tell us about this amazing story and your inspiration for it.
Well, the inspiration came years ago when I was doing some research, and I read that after World War II, there was a magazine article, a well-respected magazine, and I won't tell you their name because, we have to protect the guilty. They wrote an article that said that the returning soldiers should have recovered from the war within 3 weeks.
Wow.
They should stop thinking about it, stop talking about it. And I was absolutely appalled because how can you get over something as traumatic as war in 3 weeks? But having read that, I said, okay, that's that's the seed for the story. And my
Mm.
hero is a veteran who, when he comes back, he can't forget what happened. No surprise. And his fiance says, you're not the man that I became engaged to. And it's like, well, no, he isn't, because of course, war changes people dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So we have him. And then my heroine is someone who she lost her, I'm going to call him her fiance, but they weren't officially engaged. They were planning to get engaged. And he was killed in France. So she is grieving that. Plus, her brother was killed. So she's having a lot of adjustments. And so we put the two of them together. And for those viewers who haven't seen the cover, it has the couple dancing in what's a small cafe, and there's a jukebox. And the reason for that is that my heroine is a secretary during the day, but her evenings are spent maintaining a whole route of jukeboxes.
Mm.
Those had been her brother's. And when he left for the Navy, he said, Anna, you need to take care of these for me. So she has. And of course, now it's her route. So it was a lot of fun doing research on jukeboxes.
I bet. Oh, that's amazing. So tell us about your two characters, Anna Finley and Jim Smythe. Now, were there specific people in history or people in your life that inspired them and helped you craft these characters, or did they just come to you as you developed the story?
It came to me. Anna is the great granddaughter of characters from my Sweetwater Crossing
Oh,
trilogy.
that's right. I remember that.
And
Okay. Yeah.
so what I'm doing here is, in fact, there are references to all three of the Vaughan sisters
Hmm.
and their great grandchildren. Um, Readers will get to see. Anna is Joanna, the pianist's granddaughter, great granddaughter. And she's, of course, the heroine. But we also see her cousin Sheila, who is another sister's. And the third sister's great granddaughter is still in Europe. She joined the Wax and was stationed in Britain fell in love with a Briton and is living there.
Mm.
So it was fun for me to take my town from the 19th century, update it by 50 years, and think about how the town would have changed and how would these families have changed.
Yes.
What happened to them?
War does that. It definitely changed the United States of America. And I always liked that movie, Best Years of Our Lives,
Exactly.
which was set in 1946 as well. And so that's what really intrigued me about your story.
Well,
And
in fact, I don't remember a whole lot about that movie, although I have seen it. But what I did remember was that the men came back and they had serious problems with adjusting to
mhm,
being back in the States.
they
And
did.
obviously, the movie appealed to a lot of people because it won the uh, Academy Award for Best Picture that year.
Yes. It really is an interesting idea because I think sometimes we romanticize folks coming back from the war. We've seen the famous pictures, of Times Square with the famous kiss of the sailor and the nurse. We've seen all these famous images of VJ Day and VE Day. But what your book does is remind us that these men came home with scars, deep mental scars that weren't easy to just forget. And some of them thought they could just pick up right where they left off, but no, the whole town had changed and the people had changed, and they
When
did
you think
too.
about it, women had changed too, because with all
Hmm.
of the men going overseas, they had to take on responsibilities that had been pure, considered masculine responsibilities prior to that. And so when the men came back, expectations were different.
Yeah, and he's just stopping by Sweetwater Crossing, right?
Well, that was the plan. Um, Jim was the lieutenant, and he is haunted by the fact that he lost a number of the men who were under his command. And so what he is doing is traveling across the country, visiting each of the fallen men's families to share his memories of these men who were killed. And he comes to Sweetwater Crossing. It's the last stop for him. And then he's going to be heading back to Boston where his family lives, where his future is. But walks into this small cafe. He has one dance with Anna, and things change.
And that's usually how it is, huh? But when he looks at Anna, he sees something in her
He,
eyes that maybe she might be in pain too.
he does. He sees that, and that's part of what draws him to her, realizing that she might be the one person who could understand what had happened to him. I mean, his former fiance, certainly didn't, and to a large extent, his parents didn't. They thought that when he came back from the war, he would just pick up his responsibilities at their company, and it didn't feel right for him.
Mm, yeah. And there were a lot of breakups, a lot of engagements that were broken up. I just can't, all the Dear John letters that the veterans received. I just can't even imagine that. You go off to war and then you're dumped by your girl. Oh, that just must have been awful.
Well, there were a lot of hasty marriages when the war first started because everybody was thinking, okay, let's do this. And so some people married who probably shouldn't have, just because it seemed patriotic. Uh, and maybe they didn't get to know each other as well as they should have. But yes, I agree. Sending a Dear John letter when someone is overseas fighting, not a good idea.
Yeah, you're right, though. I think there was a lot of rush. A lot of people, there was a sense of urgency. I'm shipping out. We like each other. Let's get married and then, start a life together. And I don't think anybody could comprehend what was about to happen. So, yeah, definitely. Well, so what kind of research did you have to do on jukeboxes and on PTSD, the effect on men, on veterans?
Now, I did a fair amount of research. And let's start with where I got information about this particular decade. Time Life Books has a series called This Fabulous Century, and it was about the 20th century. One book for each decade up through the 60s, and they just stopped.
Yeah.
But the one for 1940 to 1950 gave me a lot of information about life before, during, and after the war. And of course, being a Time Life publication, it had wonderful pictures. And
Mm.
yes, picture is worth 1,000 words. So that gave me some ideas for things that I could incorporate in the book. One of the things, there was a picture of teenagers roller skating. And I said, well, yeah, that was a big thing. So there is a roller skating rink in Sweetwater Crossing that plays a role in this part. The jukeboxes, I was fortunate because one of my aunts and uncles had a jukebox route during this time period. And we would go to visit my aunt when she was had been widowed. And I said, tell me about your jukeboxes. And so she did. I got a lot of details about what it was like. She told me about different brands, different manufacturers, and which ones were considered the best. So that gave me a background on it. But what amazed me when I was actually writing the book, and I wanted to know something that might go wrong inside the jukebox, AI has made research so much easier. It showed me exactly what the inside of this particular jukebox looked like. And so I could describe it, the different arms and how the platters were moved from the tray that they were in over to where it was being played. And so a simple Google gave me a lot of information.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, so that way while Anna's working on them, you could describe what she was doing, right? And seeing.
Right. And I wanted to add authentic details like that so that readers would understand what it was like. Because, yeah, we have jukeboxes now, but of course they're very different.
Hmm.
And this was in the era of the 78 RPM records,
Hmm.
which were extremely fragile. You had to be careful, or they would break. And, details like that were fun to incorporate.
That's kind of neat. It's almost like a metaphor for who she is too. She's very fragile and easily broken. I love that. I had no idea they had jukeboxes back then. I always figured they were around the 50s and the 60s when rock and roll music came. But that is so fascinating that they had them way back then. Wow.
They became quite popular in the early 40s. And part of it was, we were dealing with still having the Depression, and it was a
Mm.
cheap way of entertainment. I mean, people didn't own, not every, well, they started owning radios, but you could go places and listen to music for a nickel, and people could afford that.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Easy entertainment. So, did you have to do a lot of research about the effects of the war on the minds of the veterans coming home, or back? I bet we call it PTSD, but back then they didn't call it that. I think it was
No, they didn't. Well,
shell shock or something like that.
shell
Yeah.
shock was the term that came out after World War One, as a matter of
Yeah. Yeah.
I had already done a fair amount of research on PTSD, so I knew, what the basic symptoms were, and had to incorporate that, and also techniques for dealing with it
Mm.
into the book. But I didn't want it to be a real heavy deal. I mean, because this is a romance, and yes, Anna and Jim are dealing with some very serious problems, but there needed to be a lighter part to it as well.
Mm. So you have jukebox, and then you have him asking, "May I have this dance?" So did music play a part in the story as well?
Oh, music definitely plays a part, which is why the title is Beyond the Melody.
Ooh.
Um, Music plays a big, big part. Um,
That's some of my favorite music, big bands and the Swooners, Bing Crosby and all those. Yeah, beautiful music.
the song that they dance to, the very first song, is Frank Sinatra's Night and Day. And Anna
Oh,
and her
yes.
mother are huge Sinatra fans. So I was able to incorporate the information that I had found about Sinatra. I mean, things like the teenagers loved him, the young women loved him, the adults weren't so sure. They thought he was a slack. Well, they didn't like his music, but they also thought he was a slacker because he wasn't in the army. Well, he he had a ruptured eardrum. I mean, the army wouldn't take
Mm.
him, but people sort of forgot that, So there were some hard feelings about him. And anyway, and he had his own radio show for a while. All of those were details that I tried to put in just to give readers a real feeling for what life was like in 1946.
Oh, I love that. Beyond the melody, a veteran and a bereaved woman find a second chance at love in the aftermath of World War II, a Sweetwater Crossing book by Amanda Cabot. Is it out in the world right now?
It is. Yes, it's available as both an ebook and paperback. And for those who subscribe to Kindle Unlimited, it's on KU as well.
Oh, fantastic. So head over to Amazon and get your copy today and leave Amanda a review. Reviews really help us authors. And follow Amanda too as an author. So that way, when her next book comes out, you will be alerted via email. I love that Amazon does that with all my favorite authors. So be sure and head over to Amazon. And would you like to hear from your readers? Do you have a website where they can contact you?
They do. It's amandacabot.com. So if you can spell it, and even if you can't, you'll probably get close to it. And
Great.
what I have on that is all of my books, and information for aspiring writers, a little bit about me. There's a lot of stuff there. It's what I call
Fantastic.
one-stop shopping.
Yeah, I like to do that too. So head over to amandacabot.com. And what's coming next for you in 2026? We're halfway through the year.
Well, no more books this year. This is my second book for the year.
Okay.
But I am just about finishing the first draft of Blossoms at Twilight, which is going to be the third of the Sisters of the Heart book. Now, there's still a lot more work to do. I call first drafts my skeletons. And like those Halloween skeletons, they're pretty ugly. So once I finish that, then I have the fun part, which is editing and putting the flesh and blood on this skeleton. I don't have a release date for that yet. I'm hoping for January, but until I actually finish this first draft and figure out how much work I have to do in the second one, I'm not committing to a date.
Okay. But folks, head over to her website so that way you'll be updated as she updates her website. You'll know what's coming next. What are some of the takeaways you want readers to gain after they read the story?
Well, first of all, I want them to realize that there are second chances, that even when life gives you tragedy, you can recover from it, um, with God's help, of course, and because this is an inspirational romance. Um, I also want them to see that sometimes it's not clear to us immediately what our purpose in life is, but we all have a purpose. And if we keep searching for it, we will find it. And that's what both Anna and Jim do.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I love second chance stories, not just at love, but also at life. A lot of the veterans were heartbroken coming home and they had to get that second chance of life. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, Amanda, this is one of my favorite time periods of the United States because of what our whole nation endured, the whole world. But I think it's just such a beautiful telling of how these veterans, came home and they were desperate to settle back into life. But we forget about the women who were left behind too, and they had to go through their own personal Idaho, right? So I think it's wonderful that you're shedding light on these two people who represent so many people who endured. And I think that's the key, is enduring and that resilience. Yeah. My husband's grandparents were they got married right before Pearl Harbor. And then he was called off to the war. So they spent 3 years apart. And in that time, she, had their baby. And when he came home, he was introduced to his 3-year-old son. So just imagine having to reunite. And he's getting over the horrors of war. He was in the European theater in Italy mostly and saw a lot of horrific things. And yet she had to endure life on the farm, living with her parents, dealing with her brothers, working on the farm, raising a child by herself.
Raising a child by herself. And then
Yeah,
when her husband comes home, the baby, well, not a baby at this point, the toddler
yeah,
is a stranger to him. But to
hmm
some extent, her husband would be a stranger
yeah,
because he changed during that time and she changed during that time. And now they have to put their lives back together.
yep. He comes home a veteran, an instant father, had no idea just, how to do that. He just had to try and learn. Blessedly, her brothers were really nice to him and helped him. But I think that was the greatest generation, but also the silent generation, because he never spoke for years about what he went through. And she
And
said that was hard. Yeah,
most of the veterans didn't. I mean, they just didn't.
exactly. And I remember it was around the late 2000s. No, I'd say around the mid 2000s is when he finally started to talk to us about it. I think it was around 2012 or so. We started asking him questions and he opened up. And Amanda, he was talking about the day his friend died, who died in his lap, and he started crying. Here he was, 90 something years old, and he was weeping about something that happened 70 something years before. And I thought, wow, how many other veterans are out there who never speak about what they endured? So, yeah.
But think about it. I mean, that's the kind of thing. I mean, that's a life-changing event,
Hmm.
and it's something you don't forget and you don't get over it. I mean, you
Yeah.
learn to deal with it, but you don't ever really get over it.
Yeah. So I think you're doing a great service to veterans and their families, just giving us a chance to read this beautiful love story set an incredible time in American history. But, readers, reach out to a veteran after you read this book and say, hey, you might want to read about this. Reach out to a veteran. Sometimes they just need a little push to talk a little bit about what they endured. It's very healing. A lot of people don't realize it's very healing to talk about it. So I have veterans issues are very near and dear to my heart. So I have deep respect for you writing this story. Amazing. And as usual, I wish you nothing but the best of success in the story. And I look forward to your next stories. So Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about your books. I really appreciate it.
And I am thrilled to be here with you. Again, thank you for inviting me.
Wasn't that great to listen to Amanda Cabot talk about her newest book, Beyond the Melody, set right after World War II, 1946 America. That sounds incredible. So head over to Amazon and get your copy today. And like I said, leave Amanda a review. Reviews really help us. And go to her website, amandacabot.com. That's CABOT.com, and check out all of her other books. She has amazing books in the Sweetwater Crossing series, and she has Christmas books, beautiful romance set at Christmas. She has a lot of books available for you, so head over to her website and find out more about Amanda. And I hope that you've been encouraged about how she chose to write about World War II, but in a different era, and that's brave. So I really respect her for that. So maybe try something new. If you write suspense contemporary, maybe try doing a suspense set in 1970. There was a lot going on in suspense in the 1970s. So things like that, stretch yourself, challenge yourself to try something new. But most importantly, keep going forward on your writing journey, because someone out there needs to read your story. Someone out there might be touched by what you write. So keep going. But most importantly, I thank you for listening. And until next time, God bless.